Hi, I'm Gail Damiano. Thank you for joining me here today. I am a high performance intuitive coach, sober mom boss, motivational speaker, and founder of Legal Ease Wellness. I'm doing a short interview series this week for Lawyer Wellbeing Week. I'm so excited to have with me today David Chametzky. And David has a very unique background and very interested to talk to you. He has his own wellness journey, and here we go. I'm just going to launch right in, David. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. I always want to partner up with people who have similar thinking and mindsets.
Yeah, excellent. So I know that, well, let me just ask you this first off the bat. What is your favorite way to introduce yourself to people?
I really don't have a favorite way, but I guess subconsciously I like to be called Dave. And because when I sign emails, I just go Dave and things like that. So if you called me David, it wouldn't offend me. I'm not one of those. I know there are people who need to be called David or Dave. I don't care either way. Don't call me late for dinner. On my podcast, I go by Uncle Dave, just because that's what I seem to be. Not only the uncle, but that person. You can't tell mom and dad stuff, but
Right.
you can come to talk to Uncle Dave, and we'll figure out what the problem, how to resolve everything.
Cool. What's the name of your podcast?
Peace, love, and bring a bat.
Ah, perfect. So that's the logo I'm seeing behind you. Peace,
Yes,
love, and bring a bat.
with the little lotus person.
Oh, he's sitting on a bat. I got it. I got it. And that was your TEDx talk too, right? About that, or you had a bat in the picture I saw. So I thought that was part of it.
I did, and that was part of it. I was hoping to launch to my TEDx talk, but I didn't. But what it actually was is much like you probably know is when you do energy work, if you keep the flow, it helps you relax a little bit. So I did bring my bat, as you can see in the picture.
Yeah.
TEDx talk, and while I'm waiting around getting nervous, I'm swinging the bat, and it felt good.
Well, just waiting around swinging a bat. I love that. Okay. Well, welcome. I'm so excited that you're here. So you did spend many years working in the legal field. It's been a while, but you did spend a number of years working in the legal field. And that's how I connected with you for this particular week of interviews for Lawyer Wellbeing Week or Wellbeing in Law Week. Have you seen, or how have you seen the industry change over the last decade or two since you've been with regard to well-being? I know you still have a lot of connections in the legal industry. So just in that realm, how have you noticed?
Yeah, I started 28 years ago at a law firm, and it was at that time. Everybody was out on their own, right? It was a wild west. How you might have handled it would be different than how I handled it, and nobody always talked about it, right? You knew some of the people who were using alcohol or things like that to self-medicate because it's a high stress job, and nobody really talked about it much, right? It was just like, yeah, after a certain time you can't talk to that person, or that person's coming in later during the day, but they did a great job. And now we have a little bit more talking about it. I'm in corporate right now, and there's a lot more wellness plans. There's the ability to talk about it, which I think is really something that I'm very passionate about. Changing the stigmas is that we all go through some sort of challenges, and how do we get through it? So I think when we're moving it, I mean, I always laugh when I talk about my career in legal. I started off with the bait stamp machine where you would do it by hand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
So, and now is of course all computerized.
Right.
But the ability to move with the technology and to focus on the wellness it's night and day. Nobody's talk. Still, people can keep their privacy, but they're able to talk about it, and sitting down and knowing the value of having meditation or a quiet room just to be quiet.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, I really love, thank you for saying that, by the way, because, my background is, I had a 13-year career in the legal services industry, and it was, high stress job too. And over the last, I can't remember how many years, there were, a handful of years towards the end, there was more and more effort to incorporate a wellness plan into the year. So they had these different days where it's like wellness day. And it was honestly, for me, it was like, I was glad that there was some kind of awareness built around it, but it always fell way flat. And for most people in the office, it's like, this is what they think wellness is. no, this doesn't address anything. They would bring in like fruit one day a month or something like that. That doesn't really help. Nobody's talking about the things that are really making a difference. Nobody's really like getting to the guts of it. So what you're doing and what I'm doing is just really trying to like dig in, at the root level, just kind of, stir things up a bit, and just really for the people that are willing to look and listen and start to like dig in, huge momentum is really shifting. And so I'm really glad that you're asking those questions and doing what you do in your podcast. Is just, I love the name, Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. It's just like, I'm going to go off topic here a little bit because I didn't plan to ask you this question, but what was the inspiration for the name of that?
Well, it's that yin yang part of it. Peace and love. We can have conversations, hours of peace and love. The Bring a Bat has nothing to do with sports. I do play sports, but it's about non-negotiables. Of course, it's not about violence, but it's about that non-negotiables in your life. So, like, I know you have a young son. Like, there's non-negotiables. You're gonna be like, no, my family comes first, no matter what, and that's a non-negotiable. When do you need to take a stand for your family, and that's what the Bring a Bat is. I don't want anybody to bring a bat. I also use bats because it moves that energy. So when I talk to people, even if you don't know how to swing a bat, the first time that you've swung a bat, guess what? It feels good. And I do use the metaphor, which would be baseball related, is find your sweet spot. Because when you can find your sweet spot in life and the balance, because that's what life is. Life isn't a perfect balance. We don't want to be on a seesaw where we're up and down all the time, but we do want to be in that, I call it the asymmetry, right? It's the asymmetry balance. And when you could do that and figure out how the flow works for you, that's so important. And the same thing, swinging a bat.
So that is kind of rolls into my next question, which might be the answer to your next question. The next question is, what's your best kept secret for managing your own well-being now, and for you to move into the future with the wellest of being?
Yeah. Just like Nike says, just do it. I know for myself, about a year and a half ago, I'd got into some personal challenges because I wasn't doing what I needed to do. I was the guy who had the gym membership who didn't go to the gym and expected the same results. So the same thing with your wellness is you need to participate in it. If there's only 5 minutes a day, then that's okay. I have some techniques that I've learned and I knew beforehand, but I wasn't using. So now I make sure every day at least 5 minutes, and I could build in time no matter where I am, even if you're in a car. So it doesn't have to be that you have to sit in a quiet Zen room, no music. You could be anywhere and do some of the techniques that I teach.
I love that. Yeah, and it's actually it's reminding me of a program that I'm teaching too. I teach this program called 6 Habits. It's 6 Habits to Access Your Highest Self, and it's a 6-week program. And I give my students, clients, one new habit a week to integrate into their lives. And it's nothing like sit down for an hour a day and do this at all. It's a habit because it comes up when it comes up, and you go, oh, this is where I use this habit. And there's no, like you said, 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there. It could take you 5 minutes to think about the habit, but it's more like a instantaneous, a few seconds interjection to change, say, oh, I'm doing this way again. Let me put this habit and do it this way. So it's literally a 30-second, but yeah, the work is not easy. You have to keep showing up. Like you said, keep showing up. And otherwise you're going to find yourself in a place like where you're, 2 months, 3 months down the road from when you started, you bought the gym membership and you haven't gone to the gym. Well, you're the person they're counting on, by the way, to keep the roof, the lights on at the gym. And I'm guilty too. I've had gym memberships where I don't go. So yeah, it's more like, what are you dedicated to, right? What do you really want to transform in your life? If it's your body, go to the gym, or don't spend 5 minutes a day doing sit-ups.
Yeah, it's called optimization. So if we optimize everything that we do and work better, right? It's always we always talk about work smarter, not harder. That's the real trick. I mean, that's the value in the legal industry, right? To always have that paralegal or the associate who knows how to get to things much quicker than having to research hours. Especially in a lot of law firms, they don't go the old traditional billing rates. It's all a lot of flat fees. A lot of clients are moving into flat fees. So you don't want somebody who's going to work 5 hours anymore. You need somebody who's going to work an hour, so that way you can bill other clients or the smaller clients.
Right. So I have another question for you. You are a certified recovery peer advocate, right? What drew you to that path, pun intended on the path part, and people that are watching are going to get this in a second. And where do you see it going from here? And you can explain the path. Oh, you froze. Are you
Yeah.
there?
So for me,
Okay.
on the path is, yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, on the path is my coaching practice. And the path stands for personal attitudes towards happiness. And what brought me to that path is, again, started out with my own personal journey. And I started learning some of these techniques. And when I was going through learning these techniques, they were like, wow, you're really good at helping people and assisting people. I said, okay, maybe I'll do this as a side hustle as I'm working through my legal career. I was still working legal career. Excuse me. And I was like, okay, let's keep doing this. And there's a New York State, there's a peer-to-peer certified peer recovery advocate who helps people in substance abuse.
Mhm.
And I didn't have a background in substance abuse, but I learned a lot of things. And because I was a peer-to-peer, I was able to sit across from people, and I got licensed through New York State. So working with substance abuse, I had lots of experience in my personal life with others in that field. So I was able to help a lot of people, guide them and find the right resources. So it's really just it's always finding the right resources, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Right in the legal profession, if you know the right expert, you go to the right expert, and
Mhm.
what you need to do is find the right resources to put you in the best position possible.
Yeah. And, I would add that it's also the willingness to look,
Yeah.
because if you're not, that's especially, coming from my own personal 20-year addiction to alcohol, I had, there's a willingness to look that wasn't clear. It was haphazard at best. It was, usually when I was just loaded thinking I got to quit drinking and then getting all sad on myself, and then I would just do it again the next day anyway. Just that's just how it goes. Like, I didn't believe or trust in myself that I could do it. I didn't think it was possible. What was missing, I think, for me was someone like you, as somebody who was a peer, who was like talking to me, that I could actually hear them. Because a lot of times in this work, the work that I do, the work that you do, I'm sure, is that you might have a client come to you 3 or 4 times and you find yourself repeating something over and over again. And you got to say, look, how many more times am I going to say this to you? You're clearly not hearing this. What other ways can I say this to you that you can hear it? Because you're not willing to listen, or you're flat out refusing to listen. So it's not like it's usually a subconscious mechanism, right? Where they throw up a wall where they don't want to look at something because it's scary. For me, it was like, there was a lot of things, but it's all tied to, I don't want to get into trauma and all that, but
It's a whole bunch of things. I mean,
it's a whole bunch of things. But yeah, so it's interesting. It's interesting you said that, that with the peers, and you can help. Being a peer recovery advocate is like so important, because again, we want to hear from somebody who's with us on the level, not just when you're in the thick of it. It's hard to hear it for me anyway. It was hard to hear it from the person who'd been down the road for 20 years and they're like, you should just stop drinking. It's like, you should go away now because I don't want to listen to you.
right. I mean, right, there's the famous Zen saying about the teacher will appear when the student is
Yeah.
ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is one of those things. I could tell you, stop drinking. Right. That's of course the easiest thing to do. Right. I'm having a problem. Stop it. Okay.
Okay, done.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I didn't need you. But it's getting through those things. I mean, like one of those talks I did a talk last summer about fighting through the monsters that we have. And the monsters under our bed are less scary than the monsters in our head. And that's the biggest challenge, is finding that out. And that's where I came through Kluberty in this past year and a half and Kluberty means just that, finding out, like, I'm a good person. Everybody's a good person. Nobody intends on causing trouble or challenges in their lives. How the hell did I get here? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And how can I now avoid these things? If I'm brave enough to go through that piece. And that's part of that recovery piece is,
Yeah.
once that window is open, you still might be in active use of whatever substance you're using, but just thinking about it, that's the beginning steps. Because
Yeah.
most people go, no, I got it. And if you have it, then great. Then there's a big difference between knowledge and using that knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So yeah, I could talk to you for another hour, but okay. So on the heels of all of that, what people are going to want to contact you? First of all, people are going to want to talk to you. They're going to want to know more about you. So where do you send people? Where should we tell people to go find you and connect with you?
Yeah, so I have a website, www. Chametzky, and we'll have the spelling, I guess, the correct
Yeah,
spelling.
say that again. You
And
cut
then
out a little bit.
I'd say listen to
What's your website again?
www.davidchametzky, and the right spelling will have attached to the
Oh,
thing.
I'll put a link in here for everyone so they can find it. But I just I have the correct spelling of your name too. Is there anything for where's your podcast on?
Yeah, so the podcast, you can email me in onthepathy@gmail.com, as
Mhm.
well as I'm on Facebook, Clubhouse, Instagram, all as David Chametzky, because that's who I am,
Mhm.
and it makes it simple. I mean, I have some pages for the podcast, and the podcast you can find on any of your podcast hosting sites. So it's
Okay,
on
great.
Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, really wherever you want to listen to a podcast, you can find it. And I'd love to. I'm bringing on motivational people, and we'll get you on, Gail.
Great.
So that way, people share their stories and really find either resources or at least know that it's possible, that other people have done it. I could do it, and maybe I need to contact that person to just ask some questions. Everybody that I've had on the show so far really is so bending over backwards that if people want to reach out, and that's what happened with my TEDx, the performance wasn't great, but I've gotten a lot of feedback from people who tried to hurt themselves, and
Mhm.
that's been the big value of that.
Awesome. So we do have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to ask you what do you want to talk about?
Well, that's it. I like talking about stigmas and removing stigmas, and that it's a lot easier once you start doing it. It's like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
We always look at like stopping drinking. And if you've been doing it for a while, it really is a challenge to say, stop something for the rest of my life, rather than saying, let's take it for the one moment, right? The 12 books, right? 1 minute, 1 moment, 1 hour, 1 day. And that's really what we have to do in anything. That's building that pattern. 21 days creates a new habit, as you're talking about your habits. And and if you do something consistently for 21 days, that's the stuff that creates the magic for everybody.
Yeah, I really think 21 days is a good starting point. It's interesting. I did read something about a study that was done that everybody is different, right? So the habit forming is part of that too. It's actually an average around. It actually takes people closer to 30 days and sometimes up to 90 days to form that habit. But I guess it depends on the person and how deep the thing goes and how much effort they're putting in. I mean, I don't know, but that's just something I read.
Side stuff, right? So,
So
like,
yeah,
if you're still putting yourself in that same environment that
yeah,
caused it, and you're looking at those resources, you need more than 21 days. It's
yeah,
not
you do. Yeah.
just.
Well, I mean, it's one moment at a time, really. It really is. Um, yeah, I didn't do a 12-step program. So I mean, I went my own way, and that's where I really, not anything against 12-step programs. I love the people that I know that go through them. They love them and they're doing a lot of good work. And so that's a great thing. But for me, it wasn't my thing. So I went my own way. I quit. I found a healer and an acupuncturist and an herbalist, and I just changed my whole mindset. And what I did is I looked back after I was sober for a year and I said, what have I done that's been able to get me this far and what works? And so I came up with this list of 6 habits that I had incorporated into my life. And so now I teach those 6 habits. And I'm actually going to use this moment to plug my 6 habits program because it's starting May 10th. So anybody who watches this that wants to join in, you can invest in yourself for a 6-week program with me. It's a group program. It's run through Facebook, and just follow my links below to get on the program. Other than that, find me at gaildamiano.com and all over social media. I am doing my thing, as you know, and I love you all. And David, thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see the feedback from this and to see what you do next. I love this so much. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks so much for the invitation, and I can't wait to have you on Peace, Love, and Bring It Back.
Yay, excellent.